Hey, good morning on this Sunday. We're on day 5 of 365 reading through the Bible, and today had Genesis 11 through 13:4, Matthew 5 1 through 26, all of Psalm 5, and Proverbs 1 24 through 28. And so during Genesis, we get through the Tower of Babel, which is post flood. And then there's going to be another genealogy, which means we're going to get that time jump forward into another story. And so then we're getting into the call of Abram. And so Abram may sound slightly unfamiliar because we're used to hearing the word Abraham, and this is the beginning of his story because God changes his name much later on to Abraham from Abram. And so in this story, as Abram gets his original call to depart the land of Ur, the Chaldeans, and to follow God, there's this promise in there, and it says, "In you, all the families of the earth will be blessed." And so that is part of that. It's part of that sacred chord that runs through the Bible, talking about the beautiful aspect that there is going to be salvation that's coming, and that there's this plan that's coming, and Jesus and the saving of the whole world is going to come through Abram's line of people. And so it's just a beautiful thing to catch up on. We're going to come back to Matthew 5 because I want to end on that today. And then Psalms 5 continues. It's just another great reminder that God hears his people, and where David is crying out, and it talks about him being heard. And it's such an important aspect that so much of the Psalms that sometimes we often forget or we don't hone in on is the fact that David's a real person just like us, and he struggles just like we do, and he's facing adversity, and he's facing struggle, and God hears him, and God responds, and God may not always give this perfect solution, but there's this idea of God's presence and continuity going on there. Proverbs 1 24 through 28, there's an element of giving people over to their poor decisions. So we had been reading through there, and we're hearing how wisdom's crying out in the street, and wisdom is beckoning and beckoning and beckoning and calling people to itself to make better choices, to do the right thing. But there's this idea, an element there, that once people give in to these poor decisions, there's an element of wisdom that is, you need to suffer the consequences of your actions. And so there's an element there of giving people over to their poor decisions to learn and to overcome. It's also important for us to remember that we're not promised easy, perfect, or protection from our choices. That God may be present and may walk through us through some of these actions and these decisions that we're making, but he's not going to always just miraculously take the consequences away, where we may make a choice and there's going to be something that has to happen, that, it's either like discipline or it's like instruction. It's like, well, you chose this, so you need to walk through it, and you need to progress, and you need to grow, and you need to learn. So I want to end today on Matthew chapter 5, and this is the Sermon on the Mount. And so I think today, tomorrow, is going to cover a lot of different aspects in there, but today's one of those elements is the very beginning of the Sermon on the Mount. It's what's called the Beatitudes, and we often use the word Beatitudes, but when you break it down, like, these are the attitudes to be like, which is kind of the fun thing. And so I want to read a few of those off for you. And that, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the gentle, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. There's so much that's going on through the Beatitudes, and then continuing past that, there's elements of like, you are the salt of the earth, you are a light on a hill, where the thing that believers are being called to, followers of Christ, followers of Jesus, is that you're supposed to be different. And the Beatitudes really lay that out there, where the things that we're supposed to be like and the things that we're supposed to be recognized for are countercultural to what society and the world continues to to throw at us and encourage us to be like. So my challenge for you is to look at the world, see what it's asking us to do, and then to see if there's a different way to kind of turn that on its head to say, you know what's God asking me to do in these circumstances? What's the difference here that God wants me to make, and how does God want me to live my life differently? Because a few days ago we talked about this idea that the law was a reminder of the way the world is supposed to be, and that God's rules and God's laws aren't about restricting and constraining us. It's about aligning us to where life was supposed to be, when things were perfect, when there wasn't sin, when there wasn't things that we were going to be struggling with. I wouldn't have to be fearful of how others would be behaving and acting. And so the law is not an act of oppression. It's an attempt to realign hearts. And the problem is that the law doesn't realign hearts, but it gives us a standard to what that looks like. The only thing that realigns hearts is salvation, and that's through Jesus, and confessing your mouth and believing in your heart that he has died on the cross, that he rose from the grave, that he is going to return, and that you believe in him and believe on him. And so my hope for you today is that you believe in that. And if it's not you, that you take the time to kind of ponder these things and to really wonder, why is this so different? Why is this special? The idea that instead of God daring you to come up to him and to be better, that Jesus, God, came down to pay the price that you deserve to pay and to bring you up. That this is a gift. And now because of that gift, you get to do something and you get to be something different. So I hope you have a great day. God bless.